5,000,
And this is where
and as far as the deaths on the side of the Confederates, it was only like 200 of them. That's it. So they were unsuccessful. Now, I want to bring this lady up before I forget about her. Maria Rosetta O'Neal. Now, 1863, a little later in this year, about the next month actually, in August, is when she was assigned to travel to Europe, to travel to both, oh I got spit and shit. To travel to both France and Britain at the time. And she left August 19th. And she was there for like a fucking year and whatnot. She wrote about, you know, how sentimental it was or whatever to go back to the land of her ancestors, etc. She had started a diary on the 10th of August. No, the 5th of August. About 14 days before she left. Once she touched down in Europe and Britain, she ended up writing a book. The book was called My Imprisonment. She was talking about her experiences during this war. It was called My Imprisonment / the First Year of Abolition Rule in Washington, D.C. And she published the book in November of that very year, 1863. Now I tried to find out like how many copies did she sell, and I couldn't really pinpoint it. You know, I even went on YouTube to try to find like a hint or something, and it was no official number as far as how many books that she sold, but she published it during that same year. She ended up on the court of Victoria in Britain, as well as she traveled to fucking France. You know what I'm saying? And she stayed there for about a year. She left. No. She left August 19th. And the exact day that she left the United States to go to Europe, I can't remember exactly. I believe it was sometime in August. But when she decided to come back, it was August 19th. She made it back here October 1st, but she died before she touched down on land. The ship that she was on, they ended up getting chased by a Union ship. And she decided to get on like a little small boat to try to escape or whatnot and not get captured. As far as her book, by the way, even though I don't know how many copies she sold, when her body was found the next day on the 2nd, she had, it is mentioned that she had about at least $2,000 worth of jewelry on her. So the book probably did decent or whatever, but she had died near Cape Fear River, somewhere near Wilmington, North Carolina or whatnot. So that's the end of her story. I thought she was interesting, like I say, because she was a spy initially and then became an ambassador, and still by this time, like I say, August of 1862, it was pretty much nipped in the bud whether or not, any European power would recognize the Confederacy, but she was still out there on this mission to try to gain support or whatnot. And again, when I think about her and I compare her to other people, I compare her to people such as like James Amistad. He was the black spy during the American Revolutionary War, who was instrumental in gaining a lot of intel as far as like that helped make the Americans successful during the Battle of Yorktown, as well as in New York, I think West Point, New York, Benedict Arnold or whatnot. So that was the interesting thing about her. So I think that's pretty much it. Like I said, my research stopped there, but I am going to mention this because at the beginning I said I was going to mention this guy again, Abner Doubleday. Now I did not know he had joined the Theosophy Society in the late 19th century. I believe it is mentioned that he joined 1878, exactly June 30th. It's kind of iffy on the dates, but most historians, based on I read, kind of like attribute his entry into the society on that particular day. Madame Blavatsky was still alive. Another guy who was the head of the Theosophy Society at the time was a guy named Henry O. Cott or whatnot. And I want to say sometime like they had put him as like temporarily in charge the following year, sometime in January of 1879, because Madame Blavatsky as well as Henry Olcott had made a trip to India at the time. So I thought that was fucking notable. Now the Theosophy Society, I don't know, I find them to be sort of interesting. I first heard about them in 2012. It was a Black History event that took place at this community college that I used to go to a while back. Not around this time, but they had this event sometime in February of 2012, and I went to this event. It wasn't about Theosophy, but it was a guy that I met there that I ended up talking to, and he brought this name up. He said he was a Theosophist, a black guy, by the way. And I was like, what the fuck is that? And he explained what it was or whatever, and then I looked it up. And I was like, wow. You know what I'm saying? Like, I forget how they slogan go, but I respect their slogan. But when I was reading a little bit, because, matter of fact, that very same night is when I looked them up. I went upstairs after the event was over, after me and this guy had got done talking, and I looked them up. And I'm reading about them. I'm like, okay, I can respect that, you know what I'm saying? Because me personally, not to get too much off the subject, but it's related to this Theosophy group, I believe in mysteries and shit like that. I think it's so fucking true that today in 2022, I think it'll be a mistake to even refer to shit as a mystery, like parapsychology, all that type of stuff, parapsychology, even as far as what could be extremely exotic as far as like the existence of aliens. I think all that shit is like, is so much evidence out there for this type of stuff. Again, both metaphysical feats as well as aliens, etc. There's so much evidence out there. I don't even think people should leave room in their mind for pondering. You know what I'm saying? But as far as like their approach, I 100% agree with it, because they have a slogan, and I can't remember exactly what the slogan reads, but it basically denotes like there is one truth, pretty much. So I agree with that. I respect that, but I don't really agree with their philosophy, because it's very exotic. Like, they believe in, like they believe there are like 7 different races, and these races evolved at different times on different planets, and then the lowest race will be like the Negro race, etc. But I don't really want to issue on that. But as far as like their approach, you know what I'm saying? Like I say, I agree with it. Even like within their history, you know, it got to a point where after Madame Blavatsky and this other guy, you know, you had other people that kind of went off the traditional beliefs and kind of like modified these beliefs. It's real complex or whatever, but I thought it was interesting that this guy was a Theosophist back in the day, as well as another guy named Thomas More, etc. And another interesting thing about Abner Doubleday is that he is also accredited with starting the game of baseball. And I think it was officialized sometime in 1939 or whatever. There's still like a little debate about that, but he is credited as the guy that started baseball or whatever. So that's pretty much it as far as his blog. That's like the extent of my research. There's other things I didn't mention, but I could mention those things later on. Now, this is chapter 2, Legends and Lies, the Civil War. It's really called the Civil War as far as the book, the Civil War, Legends and Lies. But I'm gonna call it Legends and Lies, the Civil War. The next chapter I'm gonna do as well, because like I say, I'm gonna go through every chapter in this book. But my next in-between blog will be about a guy named Arius, alright? A Christian saint back in the day. I feel like as far as my personal metaphysical view, his is not too really far from the pale, because keeping in mind those 3 concepts about Jesus or whatnot, whether Jesus was just a human being, whether he's like the Son of God, or whether he existed prior to God, but still not prior to God, but whether he like coexisted with God throughout eternity, or whether he came into being after God, but still predates all life. You know what I'm saying? It's 3 major concepts that delineates those 3. I ain't gonna describe them right now, but as far as his view, I don't think it's too far from my own personal metaphysical view. And I always wanted to do like a thorough vlog about this guy. I mentioned him before in my other vlogs called Leading Up to the Stories. It's like 4 of them all together. With those particular vlogs, I call it Leading Up to the Stories because I'm touching on Christian history and different saints and different philosophical Christian views leading up to an actual book that documents a debate with the stories his own words. That's why I titled it like that. Now, as far as like those 4 different vlogs, I mentioned areas a couple of times. I mentioned a couple of councils or whatnot. But I still want to kind of like this next in-between vlog. I'm not going to really consider it a part of this series officially. It's going to be specifically about this guy. And I'm going to break down him and his views as well as those 3 Christian concepts that kind of like describes the different interpretations of the person of Jesus or whatnot, as well as going a little bit more deeper into like the really from 70 AD onward all the way up until his life. I'm gonna touch on a whole bunch of different saints, and as well as the book of Mark, being that it is the oldest gospel, because you know there's 4 of them, of course, but I feel like being that the book of Mark is the oldest gospel, is probably the closest to the truth, and it doesn't have too many what I call exotic interpretations as far as the person of Jesus. So that book, I'm going to thoroughly break down that book as well. So basically, even though this is going to be considered like an in-between vlog before I get to chapter 3 of Legends and Lies, it's a little bit more than an in-between vlog. It's going to be extremely thorough. It's probably going to turn out almost 3 hours just like this vlog. But that's my next one. And then after that, I still plan on finishing, or I will, it's a guarantee, the other book, The Origins of an Islamic State. I just do shit organically based on my mood. So whenever I finish one particular vlog, it depends on how I feel as far as like the next subject that I touch on. So after that, but again, as far as this book, I will finish this book before I get to the rest of those other books or whatnot. And like I say, between each chapter, I'm always gonna do like an in-between vlog. So this is some shit that I'm gonna do for life. I fucking enjoy this. I enjoy breaking down shit that I find interesting. I would never do a fucking vlog about a topic that does not catch my interest, because I feel like I'll be lagging and I'll be forcing myself to research. That's not what I do. These things, as far as metaphysics, I've thought about this type of shit since a child. Everything else under the sun too. I just don't want to do too much talking and come off as a narcissist. The only difference is that today, well, really since 2013, I just decided to start documenting my thoughts, rather than just thinking about this shit and speaking on it randomly and all this type of shit. So this is some shit that I'm gonna do for life. I call it my expressions. So rapping or rap verses and freestyling, that's a part of that too. Whenever I feel like freestyling, if I'm in a certain mood, I record myself doing it, and I still write to this day. Even though I never fully pursued that career, it's still a part of my expression. So those are still gonna come in the future as well. So yeah, that's it. Hopefully I'm not forgetting anything else. Like I said, it's a couple of things I didn't mention. I just might do like a quick 10-minute fucking, not necessarily in between vlog, but like a quick 10-minute vlog in the next week or two about something that I didn't mention that I feel like I should go ahead and touch on anyway. It depends on how I feel or whatever. So that's it. That's pretty much it. Anybody watching this, y'all have a blessed day. It's your boy J.L.